China is a country that needs huge megaprojects to keep up with its population growth, which is growing at a rate that has never been seen before. A country that has built roads, dams, and bridges like no other. Today, we'll talk about the biggest projects in China that have changed the country. Number 4. The Beipanjiang Bridge, which is the highest bridge in the world. It goes over the Beipanjiang Grand Valley, and the biggest drop is 565 meters, while the highest point of the Golden Gate in San Francisco is only 67 meters. To give you an idea of how high this bridge is, the whole New York One World Trade Center could fit under it. The hilly provinces of Xuanwei in Yunnan and Shuqing in Guizhou are connected by the Beipanjiang Bridge, which has reduced the previously 4-hour trip to less than 1. Not only is the bridge easy to get to, but the views from it are stunning. Because it's so high up, clouds and mist sometimes cover the road. Guizhou province has a high hilly area, so it needs big bridges like the Beipanjiang Bridge to connect different parts of the province. 3 of the 5 highest bridges in the world are in this county. All 5 of the world's highest bridges are in China. But there are problems with building on the side of a cliff. To avoid caves and cracks in the rock mountains on either side of the valley, the architects kept moving the final spot of the bridge higher and higher. We should make it clear that Beipanjiang Bridge is not the largest, but it is the highest. The winner is the 343-meter-high Millau Viaduct in France. The difference is that the bridge with the highest frame is not the highest bridge. Instead, the bridge with the highest deck is the highest bridge. China is building bridges over rivers and mountains, but they are also building huge tunnels under the water. Number 3. China's underwater tunnel. Lake Taihu is the 3rd largest freshwater lake in China and a famous place for tourists to visit. China chose to dig a tunnel instead of building a bridge, which would have ruined the view. It is now one of the largest highway tunnels in the world, at almost 11 kilometers long. Lake Taihu is in Jiangsu province, which is in the eastern part of China. The Taihu Tunnel links the highways of Chengdu, Suzhou, and Wuxi. It was built to make travel between Shanghai and Nanjing much less crowded. The biggest worry about the Beipanjiang Bridge was the weather, but there is no such worry about an underground tunnel. In fact, the tunnel's biggest risk is that drivers could lose focus because the road goes straight for so long. Because of this, the road has thousands of LED lights so that drivers will have something to look at the whole time. Underground tubes can be built in a number of different ways. The Channel Tunnel, which connects France and England, was built by digging under the water and building everything there. For the Taihu Tunnel, water was drained across the area where they wanted to build using cofferdams. This made it possible to split the building area from the lake and make it completely dry. So their building site was just a dried-up lake bed, and cars today are basically driving on the bottom of the lake. There were also ventilation tubes built, but they are well hidden across the lake. One of the shafts looks like a small island, another like a figure in the shape of a conch, and the last one looks like an old boat. Lake Taihu is a popular tourist spot, so the tunnel was built to protect the natural beauty of the area. The Taihu Tunnel is one of the largest road tunnels in the world. It is 11 kilometers long. The Lærdal Tunnel in Norway comes in first. But China is thinking about breaking that record. They have suggested building a 90-kilometer-long train tunnel between Yantai and Dalian, which would be much longer than the current record. All of this is part of China's quiet high-speed train revolution, which brings us to the next topic. Number 2. China's massive high-speed rail network. China broke the record for the world's fastest bullet train in October 2010. The distance between Hangzhou and Shanghai is 200 kilometers, and this train can travel that distance in less than 45 minutes. After 2 years, in 2012, China opened the world's longest high-speed train line, which goes from Beijing to Guangzhou. This cut the time of a 24-hour train ride by 1/3 to 8 hours. China has been making quiet changes to its high-speed train system. Since 2008, 38,000 kilometers of train have been built in the country. To give you an idea of how big this is, it takes 40,000 kilometers to go around the whole world. Railways are an important part of a modern economy and a sign of a healthy economy. China wants to connect all of its parts, so it has built lines in places like the Gobi Desert and Harbin, which is known as the Ice City. Even cities that haven't been built yet have ready-made rail tracks. The Xiang'an new area will become a city in 2035, but the Beijing-Xiang'an International Train makes it possible to get there now. This is similar to what the Europeans who came to North America did when they built railroads to connect places they planned to build later, like towns and cities. They still try to push the limits today. In January 2022, the Fuxing bullet train didn't need a driver to move its people. It was the first bullet train in the world that didn't have a driver. But China's train change is not the only one going on. Japan's bullet train, which can travel at 602 km/h, is faster than theirs and now holds the record for the fastest train ever. But China is in a league of its own when it comes to the size and scope of its high-speed train. China has been working quickly to improve its roads and trains, but there has also been a much bigger infrastructure project. China has been joining the space race bit by bit, often reaching the same goals as the US and Russia, and sometimes even surpassing them. And this brings us to our last big project. Number 1. The biggest radio telescope in the world. One of China's best scientists, Nan Rendong, had a dream in 1994. He wanted China to have a radio telescope like the Arecibo telescope in Puerto Rico, which is owned by the United States. At that time, the largest binoculars that could be bought in China were only 25 meters long. But Rendong wanted something bigger, 20 times bigger. Rendong and his team spent 10 years looking for a good place to build a new radio telescope in southwest China. In the end, they found the Dowuding Valley in Pingtang, which is where it is today. This bowl-shaped valley could support the weight of the telescope and let rainwater drain away from its site. In 2016, more than 20 years after it was first planned, the radio telescope was finally built. It is now the largest telescope in the world, with a width of 500 meters and more than 4,000 metal panels that can be moved separately to focus on radio waves in space. The hilly area was chosen because it is not close to any towns and is pretty far away. Still, the project was done, not without a debate. Villagers who lived near the area had to be given money or a place to live. In a strange twist, the budget for this move was about $230 million, which is more than the telescope itself cost. The telescope is being used to study fast radio bursts right now. These mystery flashes only last a few milliseconds, but they give off more energy than the sun does in a whole year. China is interested in what they are. 2 pulsars were found by the telescope for the first time in 2017. Over 660 of these have been found since then. A group of powerful computers gets 38 billion samples from the telescope every second and uses them to make incredibly detailed maps of the radio data coming in. Some experts think that these signs could be proof that aliens are very smart. In 2016, Nan Rendong was saddened to learn that he had lung cancer. Even though his illness made him weak, he went from Beijing to Guizhou, a distance of about 2,000 kilometers, in September of that year. There he saw 22 years of work and study come to life. He died a year after that, but this amazing telescope is a sure way that his work will live on. If you like this video, do subscribe our channel